السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين آمين يا رب العالمين. Welcome everybody to our Halaqa series, Journey of the Soul, the Fiqh of Hajj and Umrah. And walillahi alhamd, we are now in the blessed days of the Hijjah. Today is which day? Today is the second day, right? Second day of the Hijjah. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ told us that the amal salih, the righteous deeds in these days are the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from the most beloved deeds is talabul ilm. Right? From the most beloved deeds is seeking knowledge, coming to the masajid and learning about our deen. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us inshaAllah and to increase us in knowledge. So last week, alhamdulillah, we went through introduction of fiqh. We talked about the madhahib, right? And we started fiqh al-hajj and umrah. We want to do a quick review, bi'idhnillah. Quick review. You guys ready for this? You should have bought some candy. No problem. So the first question is, how many parts is fiqh divided into? Last week we mentioned that usually the books of fiqh are divided in 6 parts, 7 parts, 8 parts. Do you guys remember? Man yadhkur. I'll help you. It's between 4. Naam, ahsant. 4 parts, right? So the first part is the acts of worship, al-ibadat, and then we have al-mu'amalat, and then we have fiqh al-usra, the fiqh of family, and then we have al-jinayat, right, and al-qada, which is basically judicial law, right, and criminal law. Jameen. So those are the 4 parts usually. So now we are in the section. The first section was fiqh al-ibadat, but we skipped tahara, we skipped salah, we skipped what else? Zakah, right? We skipped siyam, and we went straight into al-hajj. طيب. Cool. Which school is derived from the region of Iraq? We talked about the schools of fiqh, and we said from those schools, from them were derived from the region of Iraq. Who remembers? Where's the Iraqis? So yes, Imam Abu Hanifa was from the area of Iraq. Naam, ahsant. Naam. And even Imam Ahmad actually was from the area of Baghdad. And so we could say also the madhab al-Hanbali is from there. So the madhab al-Hanafi and al-Hanbali. Which of the Sahaba was traveled to Iraq? And the schools actually were derived from him. Were the first school, the school of Imam Abu Hanifa. You guys remember the Sahabi who traveled to the Iraq area? Ibn? Yeah, Ibn Mas'ud. Yeah, say it. Don't be scared. Ibn Mas'ud. Naam. So Ibn Mas'ud is the one who traveled to that area, and you'll see that from him, the school of Abu Hanifa was derived from a lot of the aqwal of Ibn Mas'ud. There was one of the madhahib that prioritizes the opinion of the Sahabi the most. Like if they can't find the dalil from the Quran and the Sunnah, right, and the ijma', they will go to the opinion of the companion. Do you guys remember which madhab that was? It's the madhab we're studying right now. Which is? The madhab of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, yes, which is al-madhab al-Hanbali. We said that Imam Ahmad from his principles of fiqh, he prioritizes the opinions of the Sahaba, right? In general. Specifically first the fuqaha of the Sahaba, the scholars of the Sahaba, then the other Sahaba. So even though sometimes the hadith might be weak, he will use their opinion. He will use that before he uses his head, because the only thing you have left now, if you don't have Quran or Sunnah or qawl of a Sahabi, then you have to use al-aql or analogy or qiyas, right? طيب. And then what is the name of the book we're studying? Anybody remember? You guys didn't repeat it and memorize it all night, and write it on your hands. أخصر المختصرات. نعم, ما شاء الله, good job, أحسنت. أخصر المختصرات, which is the abridged. What did he translate it as? the author here translated as the supreme synopsis. Synopsis is like a abridgment of something, right? Something that is shortened. So it's a pretty much a beginner book in fiqh. And as we said that the beginner books, they just mention kind of the opinion and they move on. They don't mention any dalil or type. Cool. So tonight inshallah, we want to cover the virtues and wisdoms of Hajj and Umrah, the rulings and conditions of Hajj and Umrah. So now we're going to go straight into the bab. Okay, we'll talk about the ihram, the types of Hajj. Right, we have different types of Hajj. We'll talk about the talbiyah, miqat. These are all words maybe that you are familiar with if you've done Hajj or Umrah, and you're not familiar with if you haven't done them. The fidya. Okay, what is prohibited in the haram areas, right? When you go to the haram in Mecca and Medina, there are things that you're not allowed to do. That's why it's called haram, because some things are haram to do. Tamam? And then we'll go to the chapter of entering Mecca. Now we're going to go specifically step by step. When you enter Mecca, what do you do? What do you do when you enter Mecca? So that's for today's topic. So virtues and wisdoms of Hajj and Umrah. طبعا Al-Hajj and Umrah, and actually from all the ibadat that Allah asks us to do, there are wisdoms, of course. Do we always know the hikmah or the wisdom? Not always. We don't always know the hikmah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't always tell us about the hikmah. Does that mean if we don't know the hikmah, we don't do it? We still do it, right? And so some of the ibadat, they call them ta'abbudi. They say, هذه عبادة تعبدية. يعني, we don't know what the hikmah behind it is, right? What's an example of that? Like it's very simple, by the way. It's something you do every day. Yeah, like عدد الصلوات. جزاك الله خير. عدد الصلوات. يعني أنت you pray dhuhr. Okay? If someone asks you, why do you pray 4? Okay? Is there an answer for that? Like, oh, because there's 24 hours, and if you divide 24 by, like, is there a reason? There's no reason. We don't know. Well, there is a reason, obviously. Allah never told us why 4. Why 4? So if someone says, well, if I pray 6, it's more ibadah, and so I'm going to pray 6 for dhuhr. Is that accepted? It's not accepted. But he used his aql, his brain, to derive ibadah, which is not allowed in the Sharia. طيب. Jameel. So yes, so sometimes we know the hikmah, but there are actually some really amazing virtues and wisdoms of Hajj and Umrah. And inshallah, I wanted to include them to kind of show you how amazing this ibadah is. And if you haven't done it, so now you can be like, Ya Allah, take me there. And if you have done it, Ya Allah, take me there again, inshallah. طيب, Bismillah. You guys ready? طيب, so number one, from the virtues of Hajj and Umrah, that it erases all the sins. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, "Man hajja falam yarfuth walam yafsuq raja'a kayawmi waladathu ummuhu." Look at this. Whoever performs Hajj and does not have sexual relations, right? Walam yarfuth, yeah, nor commits sin, okay, wala yafsuq, nor disputes unjustly, yani he's arguing all the time, right? Then he returns from Hajj as pure and free from sins as on the day on which his mother gave him birth. When your mom gave you birth, you came out with sin? Clean, yani. You came out no sinless, nothing. Tamam? For some of the ulama, they said this includes al-kaba'ir, even the major sins. Because the day your mom gave you birth, then you're fresh, clean. It's conditional that you do Hajj, right? Without having sexual relations. Because as you see later, whoever commits jima', his Hajj is khalas, is gone, right? Depending exactly when he does it. And then he still has to complete it, and then he has to come back the following year. So it's it's a long story. Nor he commits sin. And so imagine how hard it is to that. You might say, well, of course I'm not going to commit sin. No, but who's done Hajj here, by the way? Who's done Hajj? 1, 2, 3, mashallah. One from every corner. Jameel. So if you've done Hajj, what can cause you to commit a sin? Yeah, it is literally someone pushes you. Yeah, oh, you son of this. Oh, like all this. It's so easy to just be upset. Someone wrongs you. The organizer, okay, I don't know, he picks a bad bus, and you're gonna, oh, this guy is trying to save money. Even that, in itself, and then you tell your friend, oh, this guy pockets all the money. كلها غيبة. Imagine, there's so many ways to commit sin, you won't even believe it. Or you miss a prayer intentionally with no excuse. It's not easy to do a good Hajj. It's not easy, subhanAllah. That's why you need tawfiq, someone to make dua for that. It's not just enough to do that. طيب. Or whatever, yeah, and he doesn't do sin, and he doesn't just argue. Some people are just arguing all day. People are on Arafah making dua, and he's sleeping. Like, he's on his phone, or he's texting, or he's playing Angry Birds. Yani, subhanAllah, I've heard stories of people doing really silly things. Or what, I've heard one sheikh, he told me, there was one guy, we're on Arafah now, this is the time of dua. We'll talk about Arafah soon. And he's not making dua. طيب, Fulan, why aren't you making dua? He said, I don't need anything. I'm good. So why are you here? I'm good, inshallah. طيب. Cool. From the benefits and the wisdoms of Hajj and Umrah is that it opens your mind. تفضل. Uh-huh.
Like those sins and like this one of like conditions is what between you and Allah. It's not from like what you have between you and Allah.
You mean the sin هنا لم يفسق. والله أعلم, it includes both.
No,
صح, yes. So your all your sins are gone between you and Allah. How about the ones between you and people? Technically speaking, they have to forgive you. صح? Because when we talk about sins, we have between you and people, and between you and Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Ghafur Rahim. He will forgive you like that. But people are not Ghafur Rahim. People are actually the opposite. Usually people don't forgive. Especially if you leave it till the end, they will not forgive you for sure. On the Day of Judgment. Generally, yes, they have to forgive. But we have some narrations and other we have aqwal saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find a way to we have a hadith, I don't remember the hadith, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask this person to forgive this person, and he will say, why should I, or he won't. Then Allah will tell him, what if I give you this and this and this? He'll be like, yeah, of course, I forgive him. And then Allah will enter both of them into Jannah. So inshallah, Allah Ghafur Rahim. طيب. Jamil, good question. One of the things that it does, it opens your minds. Most of you have heard of Malcolm X, right? And Malcolm X, طبعا he changed when he went to Hajj, right? Malcolm X, he changed when he went to Hajj. Actually, it changed his life, and it changed his aqidah even, right? And when he came back, he got closer to the proper way of Islam, and then he got assassinated. But this is something that he wrote, right? So he says there were tens of thousands of pilgrims. So remember, he's in the U.S. He hasn't seen racism is taking place. People are killing and flogging and the whole story of the slavery movement. And now this man, he goes to Hajj, right? And he sees a Malaysian, who black, who white, who purple, all these different colored people next to each other, wearing the same clothes, doing the same things. This guy's a millionaire. This guy, you can't tell. Because the ihram, you're not wearing a Gucci ihram. You're not wearing they're all the same. They're all the same ihram, right? And so he says there were thousands of pilgrims from all over the world. They were of all colors, from blue-eyed blondes to black-skinned Africans. And he's telling you like the spectrum. But we were all participating in the same ritual. We were all doing the same ibadah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Displaying a spirit of unity and brotherhood that my experiences in America had led me to believe never could exist between the white and the non-white. So because of his background, in his mentality, he's like, there's no way the whites and the blacks can ever be together. But now he goes to Hajj and he's like, oh my God, like this is possible. The white is next to me and he's respecting me, and the black, and there's no problem. So America needs to understand Islam. So now it's like it ignited something in him, because this is the one religion that erases from its society the race problem, right? And we saw that when the Prophet ﷺ came, right, there was still some racism between some of the Sahaba, right? And we have the incident of Abu Dharr and Bilal, right? When Abu Dharr called him, you son of a black woman, and then Bilal went to the Prophet ﷺ and complained, and the Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Abu Dharr, you still have Jahiliyyah in you, right? And then Abu Dharr felt really bad, and he told Bilal to step on his face because he insulted him. And so Islam got rid of all that racism. And then he says, you may be shocked by these words coming from me, but on this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced has forced me to arrange much of my thought patterns previously held. So it really changed him, subhanAllah, to a whole different person. And it changed him like 180, subhanAllah. فالحج has this يعني subhanallah special effect. Number 3, the acceptance of dua. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Al-ghazi fi sabilillah, wal-hajj, wal-mu'tamir, wafdullahi." يعني they are the al-wafd is like the, what's the translation here? They are the delegation, yes. They are delegation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are wafdullah. Al-ghazi fi sabilillah, wal-hajj, wal-mu'tamir. The one who travels and fights in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the pilgrim of Hajj and Umrah, they are wafdullahi. Da'ahum, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them to come. Yeah. Allah told Ibrahim, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ. يعني, oh Ibrahim, call people to Hajj, to the house of Allah. Naam? Yeah, يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling people, because we said last week that according to the Hanabila, al-Umrah is wajib. Okay, why? Because they said وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. There's other dalils. When the woman asked the Prophet ﷺ about their jihad, and the Prophet ﷺ said their jihad is Hajj and Umrah, and jihad is obligatory, right? The jihad, the one of defense. طيب. And he says دعاهم فأجابوه. Allah called them and they responded. وسألوه فأعطاهم. Right? They asked and Allah gave them. And we said this is one of the reasons some of the ulama said that from the best times to make dua is between adhan and iqamah, because the adhan, Allah is calling you to salah, right? And you responded, you came to the masjid and responded, and you made dua, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more likely to answer your dua. And we said the story when we started last week, the story of that man who was paralyzed, right? And he responded to the call of Umrah, and he made dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cured him from his paralysis. طيب. From the amazing things about Hajj, okay, and it's very powerful now. طيب. We said, what's the price of Hajj these days? 25k, 20k? Huh? Down payment, so like it's a brand new car. Yeah? Or more maybe. طيب, what if I told you that paying that amount will remove poverty? You'd be like, oh man, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? SubhanAllah, listen to this hadith, it's very beautiful. How can paying 25,000 make you more wealthy or remove poverty? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, تابعوا بين الحج والعمرة فإنهما ينفيان الفقر. Look at that. And he says, يعني تابعوا, يعني follow up one by the other. Alternate between Hajj and Umrah, for those two remove poverty. Ya salam. يعني one of the things that will remove poverty, logically you're saying it doesn't make sense. Okay? But if you think about it from an Islamic point of view, it makes perfect sense. يعني you are giving up from your wealth. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. You never attain real righteousness until you spend from what you love. What do we love the most? وتحبون المال حبا جما, like a very strong حب, right? And so when you give up from what you love, right, and you to go visit the house of the one who owns everything, يعني, what do you expect? يعني, who's the one who's in his hands is everything? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So it will remove poverty and sins. Just look at the example he says. كما ينفي الكير خبث الحديد. الكير يعني the fire. Yeah, خبث الحديد. When they want to purify gold, they put it into the heat. Yeah, and then it purifies it. Yeah, الحديد والذهب والفضة. وليس للحجة المبرورة ثواب إلا الجنة. The Hajj al-Mabrur, يعني the accepted Hajj, its reward is Jannah. It's very, يعني, I don't know any other يعني, act of worship. تفضل.
means you go one time after a time?
Yeah, tabi يعني don't just do it and forget about it. يعني try to يعني you do a Hajj and do a Umrah if you can, you know, do another Umrah. So يعني you make it part of your life that whenever you can you go visit, right? And the mu'min, when you go there, you'll feel a connection, right? So like when people ask me, don't you miss Riyadh? I don't miss Riyadh. I lived there for 7 years. I just miss the ability to be able to get on your car and just drive to do Umrah, right? You know, like as I mentioned last week, you know, you might sometimes feel down, or you just you know, you want to change your mood. You just grab a plane, grab a bus, get on your car, and you just drive. and you do your Umrah, come back. You could do it the same day, subhanAllah. Now, if you're in Mecca or Medina, it's very easy. But if you're somewhere far, of course, there's a sweetness to it. And طبعا we know that العمرة والعمر كفارة لما بينهما. From Umrah to Umrah is a kafara for sins. It erases the minor sins between it. And the reward of Hajj al-Mabrur is al-Jannah, right? And we said the Hajj al-Mabrur, the accepted one, is Jannah. And he says, look what he says, ليس له جزاء إلا الجنة. This is like hasr. The only thing that you can get from Hajj Mabrur is Jannah. So it's like almost like guaranteeing that the one who does a proper Hajj, then his reward is Jannah. طيب. Right, and from the wisdoms of Hajj, right, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, person is going there remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembering the day of judgment, right, from the amazing things about Hajj is that it's almost like you're rehearsing Yawm al-Qiyamah. How is that similar to Yawm al-Qiyamah? Who can tell me? How is Al-Hajj and Umrah like Yawm al-Qiyamah? Yeah, all the people are gathered. Yeah, you're almost naked, because you're just two cloths. You will feel naked when you put your ihram on. Yeah, you'll feel like very uncomfortable. You're not going to sit in any position, right? Because you have your ihram on, right? What else? What else is similar? Everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. Mafi Malik, Mafi. There's no king. There's no CEO. Everybody's on the same level, right? You're all gathered. You're here to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The piece of cloth that you're wrapped with is the same one we wrap you when we put you in the ground. SubhanAllah. When we bury you, you're wrapped with what? Yeah, you're wrapped with pieces of cloth. It's the same thing, SubhanAllah. It really reminds you about death. It reminds you about Yawm al-Qiyamah. Right? Do you go there with your Ferrari? You go there, when you're doing your Umrah or Hajj. Hatta some people don't even take their wallet. They just leave it, and you're just there for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It really and of course it trains you, because Al-Hajj is amazing because you don't just give up your time. You're giving up your time. You're giving up your money, right? And your physical the physical labor that you're doing, mental. It's actually a tiring procedure. It's actually very tiring. And some people leave their money and their families, right? Back in the day, people would do a conditional talaq. Like they'll be like, you're divorced if I don't come after such and such, because khalas, he's gone for 6 months. He's traveling. 6 months, he has to make sure his affairs are done. Nowadays, if someone is sick, they tell you have 6 months. What do they tell you? Get your affairs together, because you're leaving soon. Get your wasiyah, get your whatever inheritance, get your stuff sorted out, make sure your family knows your passwords, do your taxes, whatever, right? And so they would do that. And one of the amazing things about Hajj and Umrah also is that Muslims gather. Now, we might not appreciate it as much now, but back in the day, it's like, if you wanted to know what's happening around the world, you go to Mecca. Why? Because that's where all the Muslims come. So you go there, you're like, you find out that in Andalus, there's no more khilafah. Like, you find out from there. And then you find out that this alim died, and you find out that this happened and that happened, right? And also, people would go to seek knowledge, because they know that the ulama would go there at the time of the Mawsum of Hajj, and so people would gather there and they would seek knowledge. طيب. The ruling of Hajj and Umrah. Okay, so quickly, before we get into the actual fiqh now, what do we need to cover? When we talk about al-nusuk, pilgrimage, we can break it up into al-hajj. So we're going to cover al-hajj and al-umrah and the sacrifices. Okay. Now, when we talk about hajj and umrah, we need to talk about the pilgrim, the hajj himself, what he has to wear, what he's allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do, the ruling of hajj. Is it wajib? Is it halal? Is it mubah? To who? What are the conditions? And the actions of Hajj. What do you do? Okay, I enter, I put my ihram, I go, I do sa'i, I do tawaf, then I leave and then I go to Mina. And those are the actions of Hajj. And the same thing for Umrah. And then when we talk about sacrifices, this will be like next week inshallah, towards the end. Right? We have al-hadi, we have al-fidya, right? We have al-udhiyah, that's coming up, right? We have al-aqiqah. Yeah, are they all the same? What's the difference? What's the conditions? Tamam. So inshallah we'll be covering that. So usually the fuqaha, they cover all this in bab or kitab al-hajj wal-umrah. So this is kind of like just an overview of what we'll be covering bi-idhnillah. And this is just like hajj and umrah at a glance. I personally like to always look at, what are we going to go through? In classical books of fiqh, you'll never see something like this. It's just like text and you're reading. And so sometimes you're going through everything and you're like, what's going on? What's he talking about? Where are we? So this is nice to have. Okay. So if you see here, this is just an infograph I took from, I think, Al Jazeera. So this is from 2016. Is that 16? Yeah. And so there was about 1.8 million hujjaj, 1 million male and 780,000 female. So look what it says here. So obviously this is kind of hajj in a nutshell. You're going to enter Mecca, right? You're going to perform tawaf around the Kaaba. Then you're going to do your sa'i, right? Between Safa and Marwa, right? Then you're going to go to Mina. From Mina you're going to go to the Mount of Arafah, right? And then from there you're going to go to Muzdalifah, spend the night there, right? Then you're going to go to Mina and do your stoning, right? And then it's going to be the 10th day, which is going to be next Sunday, right? Next Sunday is the day of Eid, right? So the people in Hajj, they will do their udhiyah, right? And they will do halq, and they will do two other things. And then we here will be praying our Salat al-Eid and also going out to the farms and sacrificing our sheep. Or if you want to bring it home and do it in your basement, apparently it's legal. طيب. And then number 9, right? You're gonna do the final thing, which is removing the hair, right? You're gonna do your halq, right? Because that's part of the getting out of the ihram. And then basically you're gonna return to the Kaaba for tawaf. When you leave, the farewell tawaf, or tawaf al-ifada, if you're doing the hajj there. And then you have the stoning, which is the final thing, al-aqaba. And then we have the farewell tawaf, yeah? And then you're done. That's it, pretty much. طبعا al-hajj, as you will see, is the 8th, starts on the 8th day, which is when? Which is next Friday, the 8th day. So people will be heading to Mina on next Friday, 7 days from today. And then you have Arafah, the most important day, which is Saturday. And then you have the 10th day, which is the actual Eid day. And then you have Ayyam al-Tashriq, yeah, the 3 days of al-Tashriq, where they'll be throwing stones on each day. Those are the last 3 days, and then khalas, they'll be done, their Hajj, right? You can look at it from another point of view, right? Your tawaf, your sa'i, you're going to go to Mina, go to Arafah, Muzdalifah, right? Then you have the first day of Eid, and then you have your sacrifice, you trim your hair, you can do tawaf al-ifada, and then you have your farewell tawaf, and that's it. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what al-hajj is. Al-umrah is really much simpler than that. Inshallah we'll explain, right? Al-umrah is 4 things. What are the 4 things before we get to it? Al-ihram, which is the niyyah of getting into Hajj, and then al-tawaf, al-sa'i, and cutting your hair. That's it, you're done umrah. If you do those 4, you're done. And you can be done like in an hour and a half. طيب. So now we start. So he says in the book, he says yajibani, right? They're both obligatory. So now what is the ruling? If someone asks you, what's the ruling of Hajj and Umrah? Okay. He says they are both obligatory. And remember, now we're reading from a Hanbali text, right? So both of them are obligatory. Because some of the other madhab, they will say only Hajj is obligatory. The Hanabila, they say, from the Hanbali madhab, they say Umrah is also obligatory. Why? Because Allah says وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ, and the other evidence I brought. So both are obligatory at least once in a lifetime on those who fulfill the following conditions. Okay, what are the conditions? طيب. Conditions number 1 is al-Islam. So you have to be a Muslim, obviously. So number 1 condition is you are a Muslim, right? Number 2, you are free. What does that mean, you're free? Free time? Huh? It doesn't mean you have free time. You're not a slave, okay? So you're not someone who's mamluk, right? You are free. Number 3, you are mukallaf. This is a word that's very common in books of fiqh. Al-mukallaf is someone, you can say, if you translate it, someone who is responsible. Who's the responsible person? Who has the responsibility to do an action? He's mukallaf with an action. Who's the mukallaf? The mukallaf is one who's pubescent, or not a minor. What's the opposite of minor? A major? Do we say major? Huh? Nobody? Not sure. Do we say major? If someone is a minor, like a young person? Okay, adult. Yeah, minor or adult. طيب. So someone who's like pubescent, بالغ in Arabic we say بالغ عاقل. بالغ عاقل. إيش يعني بالغ? بالغ يعني someone who's reached puberty, right? Whether by facial hair, or he had a wet dream, or if none of those happen, in the madhab, if he reaches a specific age, like I think 15 or 16, then khalas. As soon as he reaches that age, he's baligh. If none of the other signs show up, right? And he's aql, sane. He has to be sane, someone who's sane. So this is a mukallaf. So we have Muslim, حر, yeah, free, مكلف يعني بالغ عاقل, تمام. And then مستطيع, number 4, because remember, من استطاع إليه سبيلا, right? He has to be مستطيع, able. What does it mean able? So we can break ability into 2 things, financially and physically. Because somebody might be financially able, but physically he's sick. Imagine back in the day, if you are like handicapped, you can't go to Hajj. Forget it. How are you going to travel, right? Yeah, but I would like back in the day, and even now, if someone is I know people who can't ride a plane. What are you going to do about them? They have asthma, or they have like some sickness. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah. So you have to be. Now, when we talk about conditions, this is very interesting. In fiqh, the conditions, they can be broken up into 3 kinds of conditions. Not every condition means the same thing. So we have مثلا شرط وجوب, right? شرط وجوب. Meaning like this is a condition that will make it obligatory, right? So like what? Like ability. Once you're able, now it's obligatory. So that's a condition of obligation. Meaning, if now you have the ability, now it's obligatory. And in the Shafi'iyya and the Hanabila, they say على الفور. الوجوب على الفور once you're able, like خلاص, now book your ticket. Start getting ready for Hajj. Okay? Because someone might say أنا مستطيع, I'm able. Okay, let me see. Okay, maybe in 2029, I think the price will go down. So in the Shafi'i and the Hanabala, they say no. على الفور you have to do it as soon as possible. Okay? So the obligation of wujub. Then we have a condition of obligation, and then we have a condition of validity. Okay? It's a condition that will make it sahih, valid. Okay? Example, Islam insanity, right? For it to be sahih, okay, you have to be Muslim and you have to be sane. So if someone did the Hajj, okay, and he's not a Muslim, is it count? No, it doesn't count. And if he's not sane, it doesn't count, right? You have to have, because how is he going to make the niyyah? How is he going to do labbaik Allahumma labbaik? Labbaik Allahumma umrah. How is he going to make the intention? He can't, right? So for it to be valid, a condition of validity would be, for example, Islam and his aql, sanity. And then we have a condition of sufficiency, ijza'. هذا أجزاء. What do you mean أجزاء? It counts as his Hajjatul Islam. Because we know you have to do your own Hajj once in a lifetime, right? This is, if you are able, this is going to be a deen for you, something that you owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a person is not baligh and he does Hajj, is his Hajj going to count as Hajjatul Islam? It's not, right? And so if a person who's 10, he's not baligh yet. Most young men are not baligh by 10. They're not pubescent by 10. If they go to Hajj and they completed, everything's done, niyyah, mashallah, good job, high five. Does it count as his Hajj al-Islam? As the Hajj that he's obligated to do? It doesn't count as that. Did he get reward for it? Inshallah, he get reward for it. His parents will get reward for it. Bi'idhnillah. Does that make sense? So the conditions are different kinds. طيب. Some questions come up. He says, if the conditions are met, does the person have to do it right away? We said yes, he has to do it right away according to the madhab, meaning as soon as possible without delay. طبعا unless the person has an excuse, right? And so if you have, technically speaking, according to the madhab, if you have 30k in your bank, right? And طبعا when we talk about istita'a, there's much more detail. This is a basic text. But when we talk about istita'a financially, right? Maybe actually I have it coming up here. They're talking about you have enough to pay for Hajj, and you have enough to pay for your travel and your hotel, and you have enough for your family for the trip you're gone. Yeah, so it doesn't mean you have enough. Khalas, you tell your family, fine, take care of yourself, may Allah help you, right? And then you leave. No, you have to have enough money for them to take care of themselves until you come back. طيب. Jamil. What happens if someone's state changes in the middle of Hajj? And believe me, these things happen, right? So what does that mean? So let's say we were talking about like this could be, you can understand this if you're talking about مثلا a slave is taken to Hajj and then he's freed, okay? But what happens to him? Or maybe a boy comes in and like his birthday is like sometime in Hajj, his 16th birthday, no signs of puberty is shown up, or maybe in Mina he has a wet dream and khalas, now he's baligh. Now he's baligh, meaning now he's responsible to pray. He can make the Hajj is obligatory on him. So for example, a child starts Hajj, then hits puberty before Arafah. Why before Arafah? We're going to mention later that Arafah is like the most important thing. If you miss Arafah, you miss Hajj. Okay? Al-Hajju Arafah, the Prophet says. So he hits puberty before Arafah. Okay? Or before Tawaf for Umrah, right? Because Tawaf you need to do, for Umrah you need to do Tawaf and Sa'i, right? And cut your hair, right? So let's say he made the intention as non-baligh, non-pubescent boy, okay? And now he became pubescent, okay? Before Tawaf in Umrah or before Arafah in Hajj. So what happens now? What do you guys think happen?
Changes his will.
Huh? Will his Hajj be accepted now? He's entered as a non-baligh, as a non-pubescent, and now he's become pubescent, right? He became like an adult, someone who's. So inshallah, okay, if he does it before Arafah, or he does it before the Tawaf of Umrah, then his Hajj will be valid. So he'll make the intention, right? Their Hajj will be valid, and it will count as their Hajjatul Islam, because now he's baligh. The ihram is not affected. The ihram is good. Whether you do it, you're baligh or not baligh. Even a slave can do his ihram. He can come in and do his niyyah, right? And then let's say his master is like, khalas, you're freed now. Before Arafah, inshallah, their Hajj will be accepted. Jamil. This happens, it's not as hypothetical as you think. Like a lot of our teachers, they told us these things happen, right? They'll get calls in the fatwa phone line. A woman مثلا gets her cycle, right? And she's become pubescent. Okay, what does she do? She's already done her ihram. It's before this, right? So they need to know these things. طيب. What if someone is unable to perform it due to old age, but has the money? Remember, al-istita'a is your physical ability and your financial ability. طيب, what if someone has the money, okay, mashallah, millionaire, but he's not able to do it due to old age? What does he do? Yallah. Send somebody. Okay, what else? Is it wajib for him to do it?
No.
Is it wajib for him to do it?
No.
So the Hanabi, they say it's wajib for him to do it. Because, and they will say he will have to get someone to do it on his behalf. Okay? طبعا when we say is sick or unable to go, يعني they say مرض لا يرجى برأه. يعني it's a disease or a sickness that you're not expecting to heal from it. Like the guy who was paralyzed, right? The guy who was paralyzed, is he expecting to be healed? No. Can he heal? He can heal. And we'll talk about what happens if he heals. Okay? So he sends someone, then heals. So they say he must authorize someone to do it from his location. So مثلا, la samahullah, something happens to me. I'm an old man. I can't go. I have a sickness. I can't even get on the plane. So I'll be like, Abdullah, did you do Hajj? Yeah, I did Hajj. So it has to be someone who's done his Hajj. I'll be like, okay, Abdullah, since he's from my location, right? Here's the money. Okay, go do Hajj on my behalf. He'll do Labbaik al-Umrah for Hamza, or he'll do the Hajj, and it'll be done. Alhamdulillah, my dain is gone. I have done my Hajj al-Islam. Okay? Naam.
So now, does the Hajj count for both of them or just the one?
Now, Abdullah has already done his Hajj al-Islam.
Oh, he has.
Okay, but he will get reward for it. He will get the reward. طبعا I have to pay him for everything that he needs, right? For a moderate style. Yani it doesn't have to be 5-star. It shouldn't be like, I can do it 5-star if he wants, but it shouldn't be something lower than average. صح? تمام? And he gets rewarded for that. And I can even compensate him extra for his time. There's no mushkila with that. There's no problem with that.
He has to be a Hajj.
He has to have done his Hajj, yes. Yes, he has to have, because Allah will ask him before me. He's responsible for himself first. Yeah? Like on the plane, they tell you, when they do the demonstration, what did they tell you? Put the mask on the neighbor first? No, on your kid? What did they tell you? Yeah, the kid can wait. You put on yourself first, and then your child. Yeah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Yeah? Imagine a stranger, right? So, you are more responsible for yourself first, of course, then your family, then your...
But he's not capable. That's, for example, he's not capable. He has this opportunity. Can he make a niyyah of both people?
For 2 Hajj?
Yeah. Like
No. If Abdullah has to do his own Hajj first. He has to do his own Hajj first. He cannot combine niyyah for something like this. It will not be allowed for him. طيب. نعم تفضل. Yeah, they say someone that is like at the same vicinity as him. Yeah, is it أنت من جدة? You send someone from Jeddah. If you are from Calgary, you send someone from Calgary. If you are from Alaska, you send someone from Alaska. If you're from Australia, and you're in Australia, you send someone from Australia.
So if someone is in a different country, if it is Hajj, and he is doing it for somebody else, will that be okay or not?
So, and I'm telling you the opinion of the madhab, right? And the goal of this whole is just to go through the bab of Hajj and Umrah, and we cover most of the questions. Now there's difference of opinion in a lot of these, right? So if here I'm sure there's a difference of opinion. Does it have to be? I don't even think in the madhab it's a must. It will still be accepted, but they say because you want someone who's like equal to you, someone from your location, traveled your distance, and so on. But what happens, if I gave Abdullah $25,000, go do my Hajj, and then all of a sudden I'm healed. Ya salam. I've been making dua and I heal. Okay? And I heal before he puts on his ihram. What happens now? So Abdullah, now he's I don't know. Well, I guess if you fly, you're gonna go over Jeddah. But let's say now he's packing. He's at the airport headed to to Jeddah, right? And then I call him. I'm like, Abdullah, I'm healed. So what happens now? Or I heal right now. What happens now? Can I just let him finish? Khalas, he's gone. Tuka Allah. Or do I have to go do it myself? So if this is done before his ihram, I still have to do it. Now Abdullah can be like, okay, that's nice, and he goes does his Hajj. That's fine. Okay, I'll have to do my own Hajj again. So it won't count as my Hajj. Now if he puts on his ihram, he's gone, he's in the Hajj, and I heal, okay, then inshallah it will count for me. It will count for me because khalas, he's entered his ihram, and that will count as my Hajj. تفضل.
Sometimes there's some people that do it for a member of their family passed away. So it's okay. So if your dad or mom passed away and didn't do the Hajj and you will like this year I'm going for my mom.
Yeah, what happens is you will see later, inshallah, that if a person dies and he died as someone who was mustati', okay, just understand this. If someone dies, because remember, there's a mustati', someone who's able, someone who's not able. So someone dies and he was never able to do Hajj. Is Allah going to ask him? No, Allah is not going to ask him. He's not responsible. طيب, someone dies and in his life he was mustati', but he refused to do it. Something happened or he didn't. When he dies, they have to take from his tarika, from his estate, right? He dies, after taking for the kafan and stuff like that, they take from his estate and they will get someone to do it for him. It could be a family member, it could be someone else, right? And they do it on his behalf. Does that make sense? Yeah. And even with Umrah, you can do it, there's difference of opinion, but you can do it for several people, I've done it myself, Umrah for several people that have passed away and never did it. طيب, cool. So he must perform. طيب, we keep going. Extra condition for the woman is to have a mahram. right? So this is we have a hadith in Bukhari that the woman who believes in the day in Allah on the Day of Judgment, she shouldn't travel without a mahram. There are some, there's some ikhtilaf about can she travel if it's a safar of like ibadah, like Hajj and Umrah, and it's a group and it's safe. There's that khilaf these days, but I'm telling you from the madhab, okay, she has to have a mahram, okay. Otherwise, if she does, okay, it's still valid, okay, it's still valid for her, but she will be sinful. So let's say a woman goes, this is according to the Hanabila, she goes without a mahram, and she does her Hajj, everything is nice, okay, she finishes her Hajj, now her Hajj al-Islam is done. She's done her Hajj, but she will be sinful because she did it without a mahram. طيب, a mahram, does he have to pay for himself? Okay, let's say Abdullah wants to, I don't know, let's say Abdullah has a sister and she wants to go do Hajj, and Abdullah is not planning to do Hajj, he's already done it. So she's like, okay, I need a mahram. So does Abdullah have to pay for his own Hajj? No, his sister has to, his sister, right, has to pay for his Hajj, right? Because it's for her, right? Now if she can't, ما في مشكلة, right? And of course, it's nice for Abdullah to do it himself, يعني out of ma'roof, it's good to him, but he's not responsible, like it's not wajib on him. And if someone says, you're my mahram, you have to go get a ticket for Hajj. No, it's not obligatory on you, right? Because she's the one that needs you, right? And so if she's able to pay for your trip as well, right? She pays for your trip, right? Unless he volunteers, like I said, unless he volunteers to do it. Again, Abdullah must have done his Hajj, right? Because how is he going to go there, right? And طيب, if she cannot find a mahram, she will. نعم. أعد, sorry.
Like if somebody is going as a mahram with his sister or his mother, but he didn't do Hajj before.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Right?
Did I say that? Okay, maybe that's a typo. Maybe their person must have already done their own Hajj. No, he doesn't have to have done his own Hajj because he could do the Hajj with her. Yeah, ما في مشكلة. No, he can do his Hajj with her. Yeah, so.
For the couple, when we say financially capable, do they have to do it like they have for both of them, or can the husband just go? But then, if the wife gonna go, who's responsible for paying?
Jamil, well, that's a good question. Okay, so is it for the? طبعا here they're talking about the single person. Okay, so that's a good question. I'm not sure. But I'm assuming here they're talking about the single person. If you're a couple, is al-istita'a for both of you? Allahu a'lam.
What I know
That's a good question.
It's not obligatory for the husband to take his wife for Hajj.
Sorry, say it again?
It's not obligatory for the husband to take his wife for Hajj.
Yeah, it's not his obligation to take her to Hajj. Yeah, so that's understood. But he's saying here when it means the default is that it's talking about you as a person. Yeah, so you as a person, as a man, and you as a person, as a woman. Tamam. Obviously a man, once it becomes wajib for him and he has the money to go do it, he does it. طبعا if you want to do it with your wife and you think you can save for it together and go together, ما في مشكلة. There's no problem with that. And if you want to save together and go together, and you know that you're going to be her only mahram and it's going to be difficult for her to go after and so on, then
Then in this case, the wife she need to make the money. So the husband is not responsible.
no, it's not from his responsibility to pay for her Hajj. It's not. It's not from the responsibility unless it was something in their contract or something like that.
But if he can, it's fada'i.
Yeah. So of course it's recommended. It's nice. It's a great act of worship. You're rewarded for it, but it's not like he's going to be asked. Allah will ask him, why didn't you take your wife to Hajj? No, because that would be her responsibility. And the deen is very easy because if she's not able, she's not able, right? If she's not able, khalas, she's not able, right? Right. And same thing, if she can't find a mahram to go with her, right? All her male, relatives, they can't come or they don't want to go, right? Then she can just authorize someone. Yeah, we go back to Abdullah. We'll pay Abdullah. He's already done his Hajj. and he goes, he does the Hajj, and it's done for her. It's done for her. Tamam.
This is
Mhm.
a real case, I guess, from
Mhm.
and so it's one of my brothers,
Mhm.
and he, I was talking to him one day and about this Hajj because let's say his response about ability or inability is
Mhm.
that I don't have enough to take both of us, him and his wife.
Mhm. Mhm.
Of course, he was arguing about the fact that, okay, why it becomes mandatory on you, but the pushback is always like, yeah, I'm not going alone, I must take my wife.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that
Allah alam, according to the madhab, it would be obligatory for him to go ala al-fawr for himself. I'm sure there's some flexibility if someone wants to save and he knows he can save it. It's not like someone, because some people take a long time to save. And I've heard people who 20 years to just save for Hajj, especially now it's expensive. And so, but someone knows that, yeah, and in 3 years I can save for me and my wife. ما في مشكلة يعني. He saves for both of them. And they go, and the niyyah is between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because she has to do Hajj eventually when she has money, right? One of them, he probably has to go with her again, right? And so, يعني, if someone has, if he's يعني comfortable and he knows that he can save that money, then it should be fine, inshallah, for them. طيب. What if someone dies before fulfilling? This is the question that you asked. Okay, so it will be his family must pay someone to do it from his inheritance if he was able to do it and he was negligent. He was negligent, يعني he was able but he didn't do it. طيب, let's move. What is ihram? تفضل.
Say you won the Hajj and like giveaway, somebody paid for like just to go by himself.
Okay.
Like related to his questions.
Mhm.
Is this still gonna count?
If someone gave you money for Hajj to go,
No, like so you won any giveaway or like.
okay. طيب, so what's the problem with that?
I don't know.
Huh? As long as you make your niyyah, alhamdulillah. Are you expecting to win some Hajj? Well, that's a good win, mashallah. If someone says, okay, gives you as a gift, or yeah.
So it doesn't count like sibah. So it doesn't mean
Yeah, I mean,
own your money to the Hajj.
no, if someone pays for your Hajj, then now you're mustati' for Hajj, right? Now, except if someone says, I don't have enough money for my family, then maybe, he has to see his situation, right? This is important to understand because there are people who will take debts to go to Hajj, and you shouldn't do that, right? If you have debts, you shouldn't go to Hajj. You're not mustati', and Allah's not going to ask you, right? Now, would a mortgage count as a debt to stop you from Hajj? No, because there's different kind of debts. Like there's like short-term debts, there's long-term debts, there's debts that have like terms and stuff like that. But if you have like something and you owe that person and he's waiting on the money, he has more right for the money than you to go to Hajj, right? And so it doesn't make sense to spend on Hajj when you have debt, or to go borrow. I'm gonna go borrow, like I'm gonna take a line of credit and then go do Hajj. No, that's like 3 haram things you're doing. طيب, let's talk about ihram. When we say ihram, what's ihram? ما هو الإحرام? So some people think that the ihram is the white cloth. We call it ihram, but technically in fiqh, al-ihram is actually a state. It's a state that you get in, right? And so you say, I'm in the state of ihram, يعني I've entered into ihram, يعني I've made my intention before surpassing the miqats. We're going to talk about the miqats. There's locations around Mecca, or around the kind of the area of al-haram, that you have to do your niyyah before, your ihram. So when you say labbaik Allahumma umrah or labbaik Allahumma hajj, now you entered ihram. And this has to be done before the miqat. طيب, if you did your niyyah and then you surpassed the miqat and you didn't put your white cloth, is there any problem? There's no problem. تمام? There's no problem. But if you entered the miqat without doing ihram, then we have a problem. And you might have to pay a fidya. So ihram refers to the sacred state of pilgrim the sacred state a pilgrim must enter before carrying out the rites of Hajj and Umrah. So this is the state you'll get in. So if you're traveling from here, you might fly over Jeddah. So they'll tell you on the plane, مثلا, you would have put your cloth on, your white cloth, one of the stops, maybe in Dubai or something, or whichever way you're going. And then you would have put your ihram, showered, whatever, somewhere. And as you're flying over and you're about to surpass the miqat, they'll tell you we're about to pass the miqat, do your niyyah, and then people do niyyah. Labbaik Allahumma. If you're like me, you're coming from Riyadh, I'm gonna travel. Then there's a miqat stop before entering the haram area. I'll stop there, right, in Ta'if, and there's stations there, I'll shower, I'll do everything. And before I surpass, their sign says miqat is gonna end here. I'll do labbaik Allah Umrah and then head to Mecca, 1 hour drive, and that's it. So that's your ihram. طيب. So we إنما الأعمال بالنيات, and specifically for Hajj and Umrah, you have to do your niyyah. It's very important, and it's the sunnah to say it out loud. It's the sunnah to say it out loud. This is one of the few ibadat where we do talfidh of the niyyah, right? And you can see this is where Imam Shafi'i he did qiyas here, and he said we do that also for a salah, right? This is where Imam Shafi'i got his qiyas, or one of the reasons he says that you do your niyyah verbally. Yeah, before salah, you hear some people say, nawaitu an usalliya salat al-dhuhr 4 rak'at, and so on. This is one of the reasons why. So you have to say labbaik Allah Umrah if you're doing Umrah. When you do your niyyah, it's recommended that you do a condition. What does that mean? Okay, a shart. What is that? Because they say in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ الْحَصْر. What's al-hasr? Like you're stuck somewhere. Let's say a war happened, or let's say like something happened and you're not able to continue your Hajj. Okay, أنت محصور. You're stuck. Okay. So the Hanabila, they say you should. There's a hadith for it, but they say you should make a condition, because here's the thing: al-ihram. It's not like you can get into ihram, be like, okay, khalas, I'm bored. Let me go back home. Once you're in ihram, you can't just get out of it. There's specific ways to get you out of ihram. Now, when you're in ihram, we're going to see there are 9 things that are haram for you to do, right? And so if you're in ihram, you cannot cut, you cannot shave, you cannot, put perfume. So if you just get into ihram, then you're like, what? I have a business meeting, I have to leave. You get on a plane, you go back to Calgary. Okay, you're still in ihram. Okay, every time you put perfume, you owe a sheep. Every time you you cut hair, you owe another sheep. Every time, this is all haram for you to do. And so there are specific ways to get out of ihram. Okay? And so if you say your condition, you say labbaik Allah Umrah, and then you make an intention that if something happens, okay, then my mahil, okay, my getting out of the ihram is from wherever I am, right? You can say in Arabic or in a different language, this kind of condition is written in the books of fiqh, right? And this is helpful, why? Because if something happens, you're stopped, right? You don't have to, you're able to get out of ihram. So how is it done? While making the intention, you say, oh Allah, I intend to perform مثلا Umrah or Hajj, whatever you want to say. So make it easy for me and accept it from me. If anything restrains me, then my release, my release from the ihram, okay, is wherever I'm restrained. Okay, is wherever I am. If I'm stuck somewhere, right, something happens, earthquake, whatever, right, then I can get out of it from there, right? And we'll talk about how they get out of it, inshallah. طيب. So that's for your niyyah. So the sunnahs of ihram. Of course, when you want to get into ihram, before you say your talbiyah, it's sunnah to take a bath. Okay, if you can't, you do tayammum. طبعا, if you get into ihram without that, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's still accepted. Right? From the sunnah is trimming the nails, shaving the pubic hair, plucking the armpits. Right? Is this wajib? It's not wajib. Right? And I remember when I did my first umrah from here. We were in Jeddah and we already passed the miqat and we did the niyyah, and there was this guy from Toronto and he didn't shave his armpits and and his nails, and he started freaking out. Oh my God. And then people are calming him down, and then they're looking for someone who has a sheikh or something, and nobody could answer the question, right? And only they studied Fiqh of Umrah and Hajj, they would have known that he's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just the sunnah that he missed. Is his Hajj accepted and Umrah? Yeah, it's fine. There's no problem with it. But obviously he cannot cut them now. And so he was about to cut them. If he cut them, what happens? Now we're going to see you have to pay a fidyah. You have to pay for a penalty. right? So this is the beauty of having knowledge. طيب. Number 3, wearing perfume on your body before putting on the ihram. So it's sunnah from the sunnah to put perfume on your body before you put on the ihram, right? So you smell good, يعني, while you're doing the, all that labor. It's disliked in the madhab to put it on your clothes. It's disliked to put it on your clothes, because they say like if you remove it and then you put it on, it's like you're putting something with, it's like you're putting on perfume. They kind of did qiyas there, so they said it's disliked, right? Wearing 2 white sheets type. If someone goes to Hajj and he wears like two sheets like this color, is that accepted? What do you guys think?
Yes.
His Hajj is accepted, right? And it's amazing. Yani, most people think it's wajib. No, you can wear like 2 yellow ones too, but because everybody wears white, and the Prophet ﷺ told us about it's the clothes of people of Jannah, etc. If you have white, you wear white. Yeah, يعني, don't go with pink, ihram or something like that. It's just going to cause trouble. But if someone can't afford it or can't find it or they lost it and it's like the time for Hajj, he puts on any kind of cloth and he's fine, right? So one around the waist and one you put on top of the body. Lots of videos now to show you how to do it. It's from the sunnah also is to get into your ihram after praying an obligatory prayer. So it's Asr time, you showered, whatever. You pray your thing, then you do your talbiyah, your niyyah, right? And if there's no fard salah, you pray 2 rak'ah sunnah, and then you and then you do your ihram. طيب. Forbidden actions in ihram. So now obviously it's called ihram because it's haram to do some things while you're in ihram, right? When you're going to pray now, you say Allahu Akbar. What's this Allahu Akbar called? Takbirat al-ihram. Takbirat al-ihram yani is takbirah that makes some of the things haram, like speaking and drinking and eating. So when you're in ihram, some things are haram. These are the things that are muharram. What are some of the things? Actually, let's see if you guys know some of them. What are some of the things that are haram for you to do while you're in ihram? Naam? Handshake? Oh, hunting. Yeah, okay. I'm like handshake. No, alhamdulillah, you can do handshake. Yeah, hunting. You can't hunt. Jameel? Yeah, jima', so intercourse. Cutting your hair? Nails? Yeah, so wearing makhit. We're going to talk about wearing makhit, something that fits your body. Naam? Can I cover my head like this? No, you're not allowed to, right? And yeah. What else? How about the woman? Can she cover her face? No, she can't cover her face. She has to uncover her face. What else? Oh, there's more. طيب, you guys pretty much got them all. طيب, let's go through them. Bismillah. So these are prohibited. Removing hair from any part of the body. Removing hair from any part of the body. يعني, you have to be careful. I have a problem with I just go like this sometimes and it falls off. You have to be careful, okay? طبعا the Hanabila, they're very specific. If you go to the higher levels of books, they'll tell you if you do 1 hair, then you feed 1 miskin. 1 intentionally, yani. You do 1 miskin. If you do more, if you do up to 3, then we're going into the territory of a fidya. Naam, dam. Yeah, see, that's why I'm like, we're going to see later that if it's intentional, yeah, if you do it like unintentionally and it falls and you don't know, yani, it's not a big deal. Yeah, so anything that harms you, you can remove it. You can remove it, right? Like we have the hadith of the Sahabi who had lice in his hair, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, shave your head, but then pay the fidya. Shave your head, but then pay the fidya. We're going to talk about the fidya. What's fidya, right? We'll talk about it, inshallah. So removing hair from any part of the body, clipping the nails, okay? So it's the sunnah to do it before, right? Clip your nails before. Jameel, covering the head for males. Covering the head for males. So you're not supposed to. For the male, you can't cover your head. You can't cover your head with something like stuck to you. What if you're in like a bus? Are you covering your hair, your head? You're covering your head, right? That should be fine. It's not something that's stuck to you, right? That's why even like some say, well, umbrella will be fine. Like if you're someone who has sun issues or whatever. But as long as it's not like a hat, something that's like stuck to you, right? Or a hoodie or whatever. You're not supposed to cover your head. طيب, al-makhit, so clothes sewn to the shape of the body. Al-makhit, they mention makhit. It means a cloth that it's like shaped to your body. You're not supposed to wear something that's shaped to your body. That's why al-ihram is not shaped to your body, right? Or a khuf. A khuf is like, it's almost like a shoe or a sock that's shaped to your foot. You're not supposed to wear that. You're supposed to wear like a sandal or something like that. Now, let's say you don't have ihram. Can you wear like a pants instead of like the lower? You can. That's if you don't have it, right? If someone can't afford it or doesn't have it, he can wear pants only if he's unable to find an izar. Izar is the bottom part, yeah, and the rida is the top part. And if he doesn't, he can wear something that's makhit, no problem. And he can wear khuf only if he's unable to find sandals, right? Because a khuf, it's like a makhit, it covers your body. So from the forbidden things, wearing perfume or smelling it on purpose. So now you're in ihram, right? You're in a state of ihram. You're not allowed to put perfume. And you have to be careful. I've done it many times unintentionally. Like, you get into ihram, you go to your hotel room, you want to drop your stuff, and you're like, let me just wash my face. And you don't realize there's soap there. It's scented soap. So you have to be careful, right? You have to be careful because that's also considered as a perfume. Like it's something that's scented, right? Remember Hajj, some of you might be saying, what's all this, man? Hajj. One of the hikam of Hajj is for you to just get away from all the comforts, all the nice things, and just kind of like live on the minimum and really just sacrifice all these nice things of the dunya for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and even smelling on purpose. Like, you have some atar or something and you start smelling because you feel good, right? Like when you smell something good, it gives you a good feeling, right? So you're also supposed to stay away from that, okay? Now, if someone passes by and you smell them, that's not on purpose, that's fine, ما في مشكلة. Killing wild animals, right, on land. So obviously you're not allowed to hunt when you're in ihram. The sea animals are not included. I mean, there's not really any water close to there in that area unless you go from the Jeddah area. A marriage contract. Oh, okay, you found a matching spouse. Can you do a contract? Sheikh, right? Let's do the aqd nikah. Yeah, zawajtuka. No, you're not allowed to do that. It's not allowed to do aqd nikah. Al-khitba, the proposal in the madhab it's makruh, right? Someone does it, it's makruh, it's disliked, right? Because it's like leading to the contract. Of course, jima' intercourse, and jima' has a huge penalty, as we'll mention later. And foreplay, even things that lead to jima'. Like foreplay will be something like kissing and the things that lead to actual intimacy between spouses. طيب. Jameel.
Putting a watch lamp,
It's fine. It should be fine, inshallah. Yeah.
or jewelry.
Jewelry. I don't see it being one of the ones in here, so it should be fine. Yani. Should be fine. طبعا, of course, not gold for men. Some additional things for women. So ihram for women is the same as for the men, except she can wear clothes. So obviously the woman doesn't wear two pieces of cloth. She wears her own normal clothes that are sewn to the body, so she can wear makhit. She avoids covering her face and hands. Okay. So some of the Hanabila, they said if a lot of strange men come, she can like kind of cover it like this, but not a full cover. If she covers her face the whole time, then she has to pay the fidya, and her hands need to be uncovered. Type. The types of Hajj. How many kinds of Hajj do we have? What time is the Iqamah? 50? No, 40? 49? Okay, type. Jameel. Okay. Types of Hajj. How many types of Hajj do we have? 3, 4, 5, 1. So we have 3, right? 3. Type. So we have 3 types of Hajj. Number 1, what's the first one? At-tamattu', right? Hajj at-tamattu'. And this is the one, and the madhab says it's the best one. Others say actually it's al-ifrad that is the best. Why? Anybody know why? Which one did the Prophet ﷺ do? Because he only did one Hajj. Which one did he do? You know what's interesting? Like the fact that when people come in, they see you guys lined up like this. They all sit on the wall. So like they think this is like, prohibited to be here. You guys can sit here if you want. See what happens, subhanAllah, like we just follow, طيب. So Nabi ﷺ actually did ifrad. He never did tamattu'. And that's why there's a difference of opinion. At-tamattu' is technically it's better, because what you're doing is, we said at-tamattu' is that you do umrah in the days in the months of Hajj, which are Shawwal and Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah, right? And then you come out of it and you do tamattu', you enjoy yourself, you go back to normal life, you smell, you eat, you do all the things, right? All the things that were haram in the ihram, you can do. And then when before the 8th day, you get back into ihram, right? And then you go do your hajj. That's tamattu', okay? So to do Umrah in the months of Hajj, and then you get out of Ihram after completing it, then you do Hajj in the same year. It has to be in the same year, right? It's not like you can leave and then come back. That's not Tamattu. Al-Ifrad is to only do Hajj first and then do Umrah separately. You do them two separately, right? That's Al-Ifrad, and that's the one the Prophet ﷺ did. And Al-Qiran is when you join Umrah and Hajj in the same niyyah. Right? You say, Oh Allah, labbaika Hajj wa Umrah, in the same niyyah. So At-Tamattu', you do Umrah by itself, you get out of it, you're done, and then you get into Ihram for another, for Hajj. That's Tamattu'. Ifrad, you just do Hajj by itself, and Qiran is when you do both of them together with the same niyyah. So to do Ihram for both Hajj and Umrah together, it's one Ihram for both. You do the rituals for both of them. If someone did Ihram for Umrah, but has not yet done Tawaf of Umrah, so this has happened in the time of the Prophet. They enter with, with the niyyah of Umrah, right? And they haven't done the Tawaf. They haven't actually started Umrah. They just got into the niyyah, the Ihram. Then he can change his intention and include Hajj with it. It becomes which one? Becomes Qiran, right? So imagine you enter with Umrah, because Qiran is Hajj and Umrah together. So if you enter with Umrah, only the niyyah of Umrah, okay, and you haven't started Umrah, you can actually add Hajj with it, and you just modify your intention, and then inshallah.
Sheikh Hamza,
Naam.
you said Prophet Muhammad did the Ifrad.
Mhm.
So where the other two comes from? Is it from Hadith or?
Yeah, it mentioned the hadith. Yeah, it mentioned the hadith. And some of the Sahaba did the other ones with him. Okay? Because of specific situations. Yani. We'll talk about them later. Naam. And you'll see that some people will have to do one or the other depending on their situation. And for example, somebody entered in the niyyah of one, he can't go change it to the other one, and so on. Or if there's a woman and she gets into her menses, then she has to, for example, do Qiran, for example. طيب. If someone who is not a resident of Mecca, okay, why does this matter? You'll see that the residents of Mecca have some different rules, okay? And that's what Allah says, ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ أَهْلُهُ حَاضِرِ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ in Surah Al-Baqarah, okay? So if someone who is not a resident of Mecca and does Hajj Tamattu or Hajj Qiran, then it is required for him to slaughter an animal. Al-Hadi, okay? Al-Hadi, the slaughtering of the animal, this is wajib for whoever does a Tamattu or Qiran. Unless you're from the people of Mecca, you don't have to. It's not wajib for you. But if you're an ufuqi, someone who's from outside, you're not from the people of Mecca, then you have to slaughter an animal. طبعا back in the day, it's called al-hadi. Why al-hadi? Because you would kind of guide it with you. You would take it with you. You leave from Riyadh and you're taking your animal with you. Nowadays, do you have to do that? Like, do you have to grab a goat at the airport? No, actually, it's all done for you. When you pay your package, it's included that they'll do a slaughter on behalf of Abdullah, on the 10th day, which is the day of Eid. طيب. If a woman has her menses during her Umrah or Hajj Tamattu', okay, and has not yet performed the Tawaf of Umrah, then she should modify her intention to Qiran. They say this because just in case she's afraid that it won't leave until the end. Because if she waits, she's going to lose Hajj. Okay, so it's better for her to change her intention, and hopefully she'll be able to make it in time for her Hajj. And she'll have to avoid Tawaf and some other things we'll talk about later. We have At-Talbiyah. What's At-Talbiyah? So At-Talbiyah, as soon as you get into Ihram, now you can say At-Talbiyah. So Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka Labbaik, Inna al-hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This is what you hear on the channel, right? When you put now you put the channels in a few days, the channel of Al-Haram, you will hear this saying. So what does Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik mean? What does it mean, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik? Yeah, it's like, oh Allah, I'm here for you. I'm at your service. Like, I'm responding to your call. Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, okay? Back in the day, like a classical Arab, someone calls you, you say Labbaika. Labbaika ya ummaha, or Labbaika ya, and so on, right? So, I'm at your service, oh Allah, at your service. Labbaika la sharika, you have no partner, I'm at your service. Laka labbaik, inna al-hamda, right? All praise, wa ni'mata, and favor. Laka wal mulk, sovereignty is yours. La sharika lak, you have no partner, right? And so this is done as soon as you enter Ihram. And you do it all the way until you see the Kaaba, until you enter and you see the Kaaba. Should we do the adhan, or you guys don't mind continuing 5 minutes? Huh? Let's do the adhan? طيب, so we were talking about التلبية. طيب. So these are the words you say after ihram. You're in ihram now. You want to say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, and you recite it. This is an act of worship, and it's very recommended, right? Recite it throughout. Now, in the books of fiqh, they'll say like there are specific times where it's recommended, like when you get into your car, when you climb on up your, on your horse, when you go up on a high place, after salah. It says here when the night or day approaches, when meeting your companions, when they get this from the Sahaba, from the actions of the Sahaba. So literally the whole time it's recommended to do your talbiyah. When is it disliked? It's disliked when you're putting on ihram before the miqat. So before you're in actual ihram, it's not recommended to. It's disliked to do your ihram, or before the months of Hajj. Before the months of Hajj, like if it's like still Ramadan, right? It's not recommended to start doing your talbiyah, right? Because the months of Hajj start right after Ramadan, which is Shawwal, right? Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah. طيب, let's talk about the miqat. The next topic, which is important, is to understand the miqat. What's a miqat? A miqat linguistically means like an appointed time or an appointed place. An appointed time, okay? Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَمَجْمُعُونَ إِلَى مِيقَاتِ يَوْمٍ مَعْلُومٍ. An appointed time, yeah? Miqat is like so here, when we talk about miqat of Hajj and Umrah, the miqat, these are specific places the Prophet ﷺ said that you have to do your ihram before there, for those people, right? So you have from the north, from the east, from the south, right? And so we have, miqat refers to the boundary where it becomes impermissible to pass except in the state of ihram. If you want to go, if you have this area here, right? And so if you look at you guys, the way you're sitting, right? Let's say this is the Kaaba right here, okay? You guys have to do your ihram before you pass that line, the border here, okay? And so there's 5 places the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, right? So if you're coming from Medina, obviously Mecca, Medina is north, right? If you're coming from Medina, it's Al-Hulayfa, yeah, Dhul Hulayfa, you have to do your miqat from there. If you're coming from Sham, right, from like Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and any country in the west, you have to come from, do your miqat is Al-Juhfa. If you're coming from Yemen, we have Yalamlam. And if you're coming from Najd, like from Riyadh, etc., it's Qarn al-Manazil. And then if you're coming from any country in the east, is Dhatu Irq. These are the names, and these are the miqats that were appointed by the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so those in Mecca, what about the people of Mecca? But they're in the middle. Do they get out and come back, and what do they do?
Anywhere.
Huh? They do it from anywhere. Yeah. So the people of Mecca, the people of Mecca are special, right? They do it in Mecca itself. From your own home, you can do your ihram from your own home for Hajj. But for Umrah, you go to leave the area of Al-Haram. There's an area in Mecca where it's considered Al-Haram, yeah. And there's an area called At-Tan'im. You go to there outside, right? And that's where you go do your ihram for Umrah. But for Hajj, you can do it from anywhere in Mecca. Naam. Yeah, so you go to the Tan'im area, Masjid Aisha or whatever it is there that you want to go. Most people go to Masjid Aisha there in High, but you can go anywhere from the Haram area. There's signs that say this is the Haram ends here, the Haram starts here, right? طيب. If you look at the map here, so these are the mawaqit. So this is Mecca here, right? Dhul Hulayfa, this is Medina over here. This is their miqat, right? Al-Juhfa, this is their miqat. We said anyone coming from Egypt, Sham, right? We have Yalamlam. If you're coming from Yemen, Yalamlam is your miqat. So if you're coming from Yemen, you're traveling. Before this area, you have to do your ihram. You have to say labbaik Allahumma Umrah, labbaik Allahumma Hajj, right? I used to live here in Riyadh somewhere. So I would come here all the way, travel, come here, shower, do all my things. And then before I cross this, right, I would do my ihram, intention inside. Okay, and I say labbaik Allahumma Umrah, labbaik Allahumma Hajj. And then we have here Dhatu Irq, right? For people coming from Iraq, etc. Jamil. What if someone's coming from here? Do they have to come like this? No, that's fine. As long as they come from this area and they don't surpass this one, right? They don't surpass this kind of line, okay? The people of Jeddah. What about the people of Jeddah? Huh? From Jeddah should be fine. There's some difference of opinion about it, but if you're from Jeddah, you can do it from Jeddah because technically, as long as you're behind and that's why they actually put another one here. They put Jeddah there because the people of Jeddah, they do it from Jeddah. There's a line of poetry for those who want to memorize. عرق العراقي يلملم اليمني وذي الحليفة يحرم المدني للشام جحفة إن مررت بها ولأهل نجد قرن فاستبني. We got 2 minutes. طيب. The fidya. Okay, we can't talk about fidya. Fidya is a long topic. طبعا we'll stop here. Which we'll continue next week. But what is al-fidya? We mentioned al-fidya many times. Huh? Yeah. So a fidya is the expiation you pay for a mistake you've done, or for something that causes to decrease your hajj or umrah. Yeah. Like Allah says, فَفِدْيَةٌ مِّن صِيَامٍ أَوْ صَدَقَةٍ أَوْ نُسُكٍ. So you're either going to have to do fasting, فَفِدْيَةٌ مِّن صِيَامٍ, or sadaqah, do the sadaqah, أو nusuk, or slaughter a sheep. Right? And so we'll talk about those options, inshallah. So fidya is an expiation, is a means of compensation for a missed action or a violation of a hajj related law. And we'll stop there, bi'idhnillah. Barakallahu feekum for your attentive listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let's pray maghrib, inshallah.